Hi there, my name's Steve, and you are listening and tuned into the Go Football podcast. So, this is the podcast that talks all about grassroots football. Whether you are a coach, player, parent, referee, just got love for the game, sit tight, you're in the right place. So, on the episode this week, had a question came in, had a comment come in as well, and it was regarding players and how they look so different at different ages. So, we're going to be talking today about players, about their sizes, about their abilities, and why they look different at different ages. And some of them look like they should be in older age groups, and some of them look like they should be in the younger age group. So, let's cue the whistle, let's get into it. So before we do get started, honestly, let me tell you about my week as well. So my week hasn't been plain sailing at all. So you can probably tell by my voice, I'm not actually 100% better yet. So really lucky that I managed to get Monday night. In fact, last Monday was when I actually recorded the podcast. It's Tuesday now, and I'm a little bit late with it. And you'll find the reasons why now as well. Is that I've not been very well. I've had I don't know if it was COVID that I had or what hit me. Do not know, but basically finished my session and I felt like absolute death on that session last Monday that I did with especially the second session with my under 14 boys, which, by the way, some of them have now found the podcast and they've started saying, "Oh, I've been listening to your podcast. I quite like it." So let me give a little shout out to them first as well. Firstly, last Monday I felt like absolute rubbish. So if they couldn't tell, and I don't think they could tell, I was feeling really, really bad at the end of it. In fact, so much so that I actually had to cancel my next 10 sessions of one-to-ones. So I had to cancel all of Tuesday, all Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Got round to Saturday. Now, Saturday, I kind of started feeling a little bit better, and I was really pushing myself to just be well. So I was eating like everything that you could think of with every nutritional value to it. I was having more paracetamols than what the chemist could probably sell you. In fact, I probably had that. There's too many boxes here. Do you need to come back? And I was going somewhere else to go and grab some more as well. That's how many I needed to take throughout the week. It was like literally every 4 hours. Lemsips, I battered those as well. However, made it to Friday and I felt well enough that I could get out and I could start moving and start being normal again. So yeah, managed to get to the game. Now listen, for the boys, if any of the boys are listening from the under 14s, let's give them a little shout out who they are as well. So it's Star Soccer Academy. So I look after the under 14 boys there, and I don't talk about these boys too much. I know I mention them sometimes, but I don't talk about how good they are. And honestly, they are a great set of lads. And I've got no associations with any of them. There's my kids don't play in the team or even part of the club. They're not part of it at all. I'm just there as a coach. But they are really, really good. This week, really, really proud of them as well. We travelled, for some of us, like we were playing the JPL, so it's quite far that we have to travel. I mean, this week was an hour and 10 for me, I think it was. And I think that some of the lads are, probably the other side of where we live, probably have to travel further, probably an hour and a half, hour and 45, something like that. I'm sure that the last time we went to this kind of location, bear in mind this was in Birmingham and we're the other side, we're in the East Midlands as well, that's the West Midlands. For us travelling over there, they were, I don't know, like I'm sure they said something like 3 hours for a couple of them, but well worth it, well worth it. Started off with a nice possession game, then added some shots into there. It was a later day in the afternoon as well. It was 2 o'clock kickoff. We normally kick off at 11:15. But all the lads turned up. We had 3 on the bench as well, equal play time. So a 3-swap, a 3-swap, and a 3-swap does us for the whole team, especially having the goalkeeper and one centre back that wants to play in that position and is happy to stay there. So you know what though, great win for the boys as well. And I looked over that threshold that we're allowed to say what the results were as well. But 9-0 winners, which was great. And honestly, to be fair to the boys, they played some super football. Like really, really proud of some of the football they were playing. I think some of that comes from the warm up that we were doing. Sometimes with the warm-ups, you start the game as you finish your warm-up. So I like to do that sometimes. I'm not a fan of the 2-touch shots and put it in the back of the net against a goalkeeper, like especially if there's no interference or anything like that from goalkeepers. I'm just not a fan of that really because it's not realistic. The amount of times that we go through and you get to have like a one-on-one with a goalkeeper from a 2-touch pass is minimum, obviously for the reason that generally, if you were getting a 2-touch pass from there, that player's probably offside. So it's not ever realistic, and I don't really like doing that. But look, the guys, all the lads, they started off really, really well. They played the positions, they were looking over, they were trying to help each other. The passage of play were really good. We switched the ball really, really well. Positional play was really good. So yeah, hopefully we can take that into some of the games. Now, This is the other thing, and I know this is a pain for some of the lads, but it's just the way that the cookie crumbles, I suppose, is that we've got some games this season that are 3.5 hours each way. That is a long way for some of us, especially when it's 80 minutes worth of football. And I think there's a couple of the games. I think that the one that we're playing this weekend is against one of the teams that have got to travel 3.5 hours to get to us. And that's an 11:15 kickoff. So imagine what time they're setting off. It's like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 in the morning as well, just to make sure they get there on time. Especially if they've got little stops and stuff like that. So, look, really well played for all the lads. If any of them are listening, well done. Really, really proud of you. And listen, I think we've got a good chance this season. I think we're going to do really, really well. Even if we had a couple of games that were maybe a little bit more shaky as well. We didn't really play to all of our strengths in some of those. But look, really, really good. Really well played for them. And when you turn up for training, just turn up with a good attitude. That's all I'm ever asking. Good attitude, willing to learn. And then we just crack on and we can get through the practices. We get through the technical practice. We can get into, not after the technical practice, we can get into the small-sided games, or the 1v1s that we did last night, into the small-sided games. And then, listen, let's push those goals back. Let's go for it and have some free play time too. So that is the kind of thing that I had this week. So yeah, all of the week up until Saturday when the boys went out. Well done to the boys. Sunday, a little bit different. I actually felt fresh as a chicken on Sunday. I don't know what happened. Literally went to sleep. These paracetamols must have kicked in. The Lemsips must have kicked in, except for how I sound now. Felt absolutely great. And I'd been appointed to Women's FA Cup in the second round qualifiers. And, I've made a post as well. So if you want to go and check out the socials, you can see the post that was actually put out there just regarding that, and a bit of a walk around the place that they were playing at, and all the rest of the details too. It's all kind of on there. But yeah, really, really eager to go to that game as well. Turn up nice and early, made sure that everyone was happy that was there. Had my chat with the 2 ARs that were appointed. Had a chat with the captains and also the coaches beforehand, just some good player expectations for the game, especially with quite a few of them. But yeah, look, honestly, the standard of women's football, especially at the level that they were at, which was, I think this was second round qualifiers. Now you might think second round qualifiers, well, that's a load of junk as well. Please go out and support your teams that are in these kind of games, especially for the Women's FA Cup, especially if they're in qualifiers. And there's a load of regional games at the moment. And the reason why is that this game, second round qualifiers, prize money for this, I checked it online, and the post to support it, so go and check it out too. £3,000 for the winning team, 750 quid for the losing team. That's not short change, okay, for 90 minutes worth of football. And I tell you, cracking game of football. Home team go into the lead. Then we go level, then the home team go in the head again. Then there's a penalty to the away team as well. Takes it up 2-2. Massive push in the back as well. Listen, they can complain all they like. If you push someone double-handed in the back and they go down in the box whilst they're running a goal, you're going to get a penalty given against you. So that's what happened there. So there's a penalty shout that went in. Makes it 2-2. I'm now thinking this is going to go through to penalties. Home team, ball over the top. Fast as you like player. Now, I kept calling this player number 9. I kept thinking that she was number 9. She was number 16. But, so that just identifies that player as well. But, and I kept saying to her as well, after the game, I said, well done, number 9, even though she was number 16. Takes it through and scores in literally the last 90 seconds, so there's no penalties. And listen, that one goal, that in that, 1 second of her kicking that ball, changes from 750 quid potential to £3,000. Now, that's not the end of where these clubs earn money in the Women's FA Cup. Next round, they get £4,000 for winning. If they win the next round, and it's local, it's regional as well, so they're only playing against teams that are in and about where they are. It's another £4,000. So they're already on. And by the way, getting through to this round that they're on at the moment by winning on the previous rounds, the preliminary, the first round qualifier, and the second round qualifier, is just short of £10,000. So please go out and support these clubs and these women that are actually playing in the Women's FA Cup, because it's really important. And you know what? I suppose it's really good to have a nice little day out. I mean, this one was free to enter as well. It's free entry, seating, everything else that you could probably think. Good game of football. And if it's local, which it was for a lot of the teams, they get a good outing as well, don't they? As well. So look, that was my my week of football, which was training on a Monday, feeling like absolutely death warmed up. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, absolutely copped out and was just feeling too ill to be able to get out of bed. Saturday feeling all right. Get out to the boys team. Boys did really good, and then enjoyed a good Sunday's worth of football where I was an official in the Women's FA Cup. So that's my week. But let's crack on to what we were going to talk today. So let's have another whistle and let's get into it. So this is going to be a bit of a whistle stop tour, really. I'm not actually an expert in this field. So, I'm always happy for someone to come on who is an expert and always come on and do the correcting things. And I'm more than happy to have someone on the podcast that can come on and talk about this. But I want to talk about what growth, maturation means in youth football. One thing that my boys said, I don't know if I've been talking about them quite a bit, but first thing they do a lot of the time, and I get annoyed with this as well, so they may see this as well, and I'd always correct them straight away, is, and to be fair, when I had the under 14 girls and when I had the under 10 boys at Star Soccer too, exactly the same. Oh, they're massive. Oh, they're big lads, aren't they? Oh, gosh, they're all big. Look at us, we're all small. I'm thinking, well, look, okay, that is part of the case. In fact, when I had the under 10s, I had two players that were 8 years old that were 5'7", and I'm not much more than 5'7". In fact, I'd probably say I'm 5'9", got heels on and 3 pairs of socks. So I was one of the players that generally got that kind of comment as to, like, are they the right age? Are they the right sizes? Are they all the rest of it? They're the kind of questions that people always ask. And the girls always used to say the same, oh, gosh, look at them, they're massive. And it feels like maybe I pick small teams on purpose because of me, I don't know. But it doesn't really work like that. Now, we have what's called growth, we have maturation, and we also have football as well. Now, we look at different ages of footballers. I think they can be broken down into maybe 3, maybe 4 kind of categories, really. I would say they have the chronological age as well. So that is simply how old someone is in years and months. So that is just their actual age. And that'll determine whether they play under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, under 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, or where they play. That generally determines that. And we generally in this country, some countries get away slightly differently. Some will do it on the whole year. So they'll start their year off at the 1st January in December. In this country, we kind of have a cut-off. I think I might be wrong with this as well, but it's around like the September, August as well. Generally goes with the years of school too. So that's where they generally go with that. But then we've also got things like biological age. Now, biological age changes a lot for a lot of different children. So when we look at biological age, what does biological age mean, really? Because it's not their age, it's not when they're born. You can't just turn up to a par when you're 17 and just go, well, biologically I'm 18. So that's where it is. But it's really about hormone development and when they've started having those. So, you might get 2 children that are maybe 12, chronologically, could be very, very different as well. Biologically, it could be very, very different. They might have had growth spurts at different times. One might have gone through a massive one and looks like he's got a full beard and be 6 foot tall, and then you've got another one who, is probably only 5 foot tall and hasn't had a growth at all, and probably could, maybe 14 might still be able to play for an under 9s team by the looking at them as well. I think there's a couple of different things that people generally miss on that. A couple of things are that. One is, look, just because someone's biologically grown and had their growth spurt already, sometimes those players will have an advantage in a game. They'll be the players that you'll see, especially at the younger age groups, where not everyone has gone through those growth spurts. They're able to kind of dominate games because they'll be the biggest, strongest, fastest player out of everyone. That doesn't mean they're going to stay like that. It just means that the other players haven't caught up yet. One thing that I do notice with these ages, and having coached both boys and girls, that girls go through this a little bit earlier. So if you were to look at maybe an under 11s girl team playing against an under 10 boys team, something like that, you might notice that the girls look a lot older and a lot more developed in things like height and maturity and all the rest of it. You would probably notice that because girls go through it probably a little bit earlier than boys. But at the same time, sometimes you will find 4'5" girls playing in these as well. But there's a lot of different changes that you also get. Like I say, they might not have gone through their peak growth spurts. What's an indication that they're going to go through a growth spurt? Feet changing size as well. Now, what happens when they go through these peak changes, and what happens when they are going through it? Well, you might find that they start getting a little bit clumsy. So sometimes you might find that you've got some players that one season, they may have been absolutely perfect. They've been able to run rings round players, then all of a sudden they're falling over, they're clumsy, they're not able to do it. Well, what that is their growth spurt, growth and maturity in their brains are 2 different things. they might be growing, but their brain might not be able to catch up with what their body's actually doing. So things like feet growing, bodies getting taller, your brain might still be telling you that you're the same height, same ability, same everything that you are when you were a little bit smaller. And all of a sudden you're not, and then you start tripping up. How many times do you see kids now just get really clumsy for absolutely no reason? And sometimes you'll just see it and you'll be thinking, why have you become clumsy all of a sudden? It's because they're going through their growth spurts and their brains aren't catching up as quick as maybe what their bodies are catching up. So you might see that in the game as well. I would say parents, coaches, if you've got players that are going through that as well, just be really mindful of it. Because no one turns up to do a bad thing. No one turns up to a game of football or anything in life, really, I don't think. No one turns up thinking, I'm going to purposely be bad today. But, things like, it might impact their skills, it might impact their confidence, their balance, it might impact all of those different things. Their height coordination of just jumping may be affected by all of these things because they're going through lots of sudden changes. And they're all going to happen at different times for different kids. So we can't just say, like, under 14s, this is what's going to happen. Under 13s, this is what's going to happen. Under 12s, this is what's going to happen. Because children will go through it all at different times. And that's why you'll find, like I did when I had the under 8s, two players almost the same size as me. I mean, if we'd have been short of a player, I probably could have got away with playing and putting a shirt on with those if I'd have had a shave. But yeah, you'll find it all at different ages and on all different matters as well. I mean, like, if you look at according to like the FA Learning, and there is some good stuff on the FA Learning too. If you want to go onto there, you can always log on and do the. There's a couple of courses that you can actually do that are all free. You can just click on them and do them, and it talks about maturation and changes and how to give some players advantages and how it can present different challenges and maybe how some players can maybe excel with the maturity and also physically, and maybe they'll plateau later. Maybe they'll have different changes within the things that they're doing on the pitch and in training, but I think that if you look at, I think there's been some studies that have also been on there as well, where they've had some examples of chronological ages and relative ages and biological maturation, and they just show how different a player can be from going through one to the next, and where they sort of sit in there as an actual player. Most players aren't going to be out of there as well whilst they're teenagers. Most players are going to continue that all the way through. You may find that with some players, they get there really quick, and some players get there really early on. So where else does this cause a couple of problems for a few players? Well, obviously injury risk, demand for injury. If you've got players that are all of a sudden, their bodies have grown and they're developing, you might find they're at risk for injuries more because their performance and how they're training is slightly different to what their bodies are used to. You may find that with some players as well. So again, coaches, some things for you to maybe think about as well. I think if you look at things like growth spurts, especially around like puberty, like there's so much going on with players that you don't always have the right answers. And as coaches, we don't have the right answers for everyone, because if you've got a team of, let's say, 18, they're all going to hit it at different times. All right, you are going to have, depending on the age groups that you've got, you're going to have some very tall players, some very small players. I mean, I always remember this. I always remember some of the younger teams that I've coached, and I've seen them, and you have the photo inside the goal at the end of the game, and it's all one level, all the way across. And then the next year, it's like this as well, of like players, different heights, different sizes, different abilities, and all the rest of it. Not really just abilities, but you just look at the photos from one year to the next, and you're like, oh gosh, they've really grown, haven't they? They've really changed size. Doesn't really mean, though, and this is something that people sometimes get mixed up with, it doesn't mean that maturity, that their brains are caught up with everything that they've done in growing. And sometimes you will get growth periods like that. So some practical tips then for some parents and coaches and also players, I mean, some of these, I mean, look, you can find loads online, and let's say, I would say that the information I'm giving out today is quite general and quite broad, but, look, for coaches and players, let's support some healthy development as well. This channel's always going to be about development of players. I talk about positive reinforcement. I talk about not shouting on as players, not giving them a hard time for things and all those kind of things too. I would say continue doing those things as well. For coaches, just observe and then you can communicate as well. You can watch for like sudden physical changes. You probably notice things like longer limbs, growing pains, balance issues as well. Balance issues are one of the main things, because you often see coaches say, last year you would have scored that. What happened this season? And it's just that they're growing and their brains have not caught up quite quick as what it needs to. And their brain's telling them that they're one size, but they're actually another size. Why players have fallen over. That's why they have problems with things like their balance issues and stuff like that. That's why they become clumsy also. But, for coaches, maybe adapt some of your training and load in some of the drills, some of the practices around some of them as well. Use like varied tasks. You don't always have to be fast at things because we don't want to get things like injuries. We don't always need to be strong. We need to have a good mix of both technical, coordination, agility work. Maybe you want to have some work, and you maybe want to do some little bit of training regarding things like growth spurts too, and maybe we can find some practices that you can use whilst people are going through these changes. But I would say just be really, really patient with your team as well. Like I said, no one's going to go there and try and do a bad job as well. So if there is a dip in skills, if there is something that's slightly different, don't worry about it, coaches, as well. Honestly, it's not going to be a problem. But yeah, just consider, playing and grouping strategies of some players together, maybe. Some of them that are maybe a little bit taller, maybe some that were really fast, maybe put them with some players that were a little bit slower. So again, they're not going to be losing too much confidence out of those things, and probably give a bit of confidence to the players that were a little bit slow, that they're now in a group with the faster players and keeping up as well. It might be really motivating for them too. Maybe you can think about grouping some of your players by size and ability, rather than just like strictly on who was all the forwards and all the wingers and all the defenders. Maybe you can group some of your players differently for some small-sided games, or maybe when you're working your teams out and your groups out for your smaller-sided games, maybe you can look at some of those things too. So, but also just be really, really patient regarding the physical and emotional and social side that they have as well. They're going to be going through lots of different changes. I think now for the age groups that there are, because there's so many things like TikTok, like podcasts, like social media, that they're going to be on quite a lot of the time. They see a lot of things that we wouldn't have seen maybe as coaches of a different generation when we grew up without all of these things. There's a lot going through their heads. There's a lot more pressure on things like GCSEs, schoolwork, home life. There's so many different things that are in their lives that maybe weren't there for us quite as much. But, one thing that you can never go amiss with any of the players at any time is encouraging players as well. Making sure that, you're actually encouraging them to be players, that things are allowed to go wrong, that they don't need to do everything right all the time. It's still a decision-making game. Just think their decision-making may change depending on how they're going through some of these growth spurts and how they're changing too. But I think for parents, look, there's a couple of good things that we can maybe say for parents as well. For a lot of parents, they will notice that their children are probably going through some changes, probably more so the growth side of things, because it'll be new trainers, new football boots, new clothes, and all the rest of it that they're probably going to be doing. But yeah, I think that for them as well, just be really supportive, especially on the dips, because a lot of players, when they start going through these changes, will have a little bit of a dip as well. Just praise, positive reinforcement. You can still do this as well. Maybe going through a couple of changes. It's absolutely fine to have not had your best game today. It's absolutely fine for you to have made some mistakes today. That's how people learn. That's how people develop. That's what we want to do in grassroots football, and and also football outside of that too. But if you can just communicate with your coach too, sometimes they will have a better understanding that they're going through this, they're going through that. And a lot of coaches, are really good. They will adapt their sessions, they will adapt their style, they will adapt everything for the players, knowing that they want to do that. And if a coach is not willing to do that as well, they're probably not worth it as a coach. I would bit off in some aspects, or just have some words with them, or maybe just say to them, I think that you need to be, there's some courses, here's some courses to go to, and maybe even contact your safeguarding officer if you needed to as well. I don't think that's always going to be too essential to do, but we are looking at children here that are going through massive amounts of changes, so we want to make sure that they're going to be getting everything that they need. So just going on from there as well, so a couple of do's and don'ts then, I suppose. Really, I mean, most coaches, they can get support. There is areas that you can go and get that. You can go and get a lot of it off the FA's website as well. It talks about what to be aware of with, effects of age changes, growth, maturation as well. How to recognise when players are going through those things. and how to adapt training sessions for all of it too. They're all on the FA website and they're all easy accessible. Now, most counties will also run courses and CPD courses. They'll often run those, and I would say maybe just contact your coaching development officers for your local regions and see if they are putting any of those courses on, if it's something that you're interested in maybe looking at. I mean, look, if we look at some of the positives as well, positive reinforcement rather than focusing on comparison of you were doing this last year as well. Now you're not able to do it as well. What's wrong with you? You're getting worse as a player. Maybe just understand why they may be having struggles doing that. And as players change, I've talked about it quite a few times, is not to pigeonhole people into certain positions. If you pigeonhole people into positions too early, then they feel like that's their position. And if that's not their best position after they've gone through some growth and maturation and maturity, there may be a different position for it. I've talked a lot before regarding things like Harry Kane being a goalkeeper at one point. And before that, he was obviously a midfielder. And now, he's absolutely knocking balls in left, right, and centre, isn't he, as well, for over in Germany. Players are all different. They all have different positions. They all suit different positions. I mean, like Kyle Walker, Ashley Cole as well. Again, like I know I've mentioned this before as well, but both signed pro contracts as strikers, best left back and best right back. They'd be in my England all 11 anyway, as left and right backs. So, but also coaches and parents just think about there's probably going to be a bit of a risk to injury. So if there is a bit of a risk to injury as well, just encourage these things as well. Good rest, good recovery, appropriate workloads that they're doing as well, good warm-ups, good stretches, just to try and minimise all of those things as much as they can. So just a couple of emails that are coming now. I have been ill. I know I mentioned it earlier as well. There's at least 2 or 3 messages that I need to still get back to as well. So I will get back to everyone that has messaged, whether I know I've had a couple that are coming on Facebook Messenger. I will get round to doing those as well. Although on Facebook Messenger, I get hundreds of people asking me. They're telling me that they are experts in podcast promotions and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't mind about it too much as well, but sometimes it does interfere with me getting back to people on there as well. Much easier to just get me on gofootballpod@gmail.com. It comes straight through to me and I'll read those ones out straight away as well. But we also had Grace as well. I think it's Grace's parent. I don't think that 12-year-olds are listening to this as well. So age 12 as well. So Grace, I think it's Grace's parents that have messaged him. Hit a growth spurt over the summer, went on from being one of the smallest in the team to suddenly being much taller. I've noticed this with girls a lot. When I had the girls team, bear in mind I had them from 7-a-side to 11-a-side. Yes, a couple of the girls that I actually thought were really small turned up in the last year of me having them, and they were towering over some of the others too. So yeah, suddenly became much taller. She said that her coordination fell off and her confidence dropped until she got used to it. So that's one of the things that will happen as well. So yeah, thanks very much for Grace for commenting in there as well. Also had Jamie, under 11s, born in August, finds it often left out at kids born in September. Coaches notice and rotate the squads. Balanced physical advantages. Okay, so I've read that as it was as well. I can kind of think what this one's saying is that, yeah, for kids that are born in August, you've got to think that for the kids that are born in September, so like a full year's difference with some of those. It's like, it could be 11 months different. 11 months worth of growth, maturity, and everything else like that is a massive, massive difference. Now, you just compile that with a player that's born in September in the correct age group, and then a player playing up a year that's born in August. It's like 2 years difference, 23 months difference as well. Big, big difference in those ones. So, yeah, there's always going to be that advantage with them. What I will say is that the players do generally catch up. Okay, I've got a son who's born in August as well, and caught up by the time they were 16, fully caught up. You can't really tell anything different with that now too. Yeah, so thanks for those comments in. Again, if you've got any comments that you want to put in as well, just email in at gofootballpod@gmail.com. Come straight through to me. I'll read them out too. So, a couple of takeaways, a bit of wrap-ups then, really, as well. So let's just have a look. Let's just wrap this one up. Let's get into the next episode then, shall we? Which is, some of the takeaways from this as well. Look, children, they're all going to develop at different ages, different times, different rates, their chronological ages and everything. The age that they're born isn't everything. Their size isn't everything. They're all going to go through different changes at different times. Just be really aware of it as well. Growth, maturation, they go through rapid changes, kids. They are going to go through lots of different things, physical, mental as well. It's going to affect things like their physical performance, their coordination, their confidence. It's going to affect all of those different things. So as coaches, be really, really patient, be mindful of the players that are going through those things. Don't make them feel like they are losing their ability, or don't get angry at them either. Don't get annoyed that just because they were able to do a double step over and set the player on with the left on the left foot and then just put it in the bottom corner every time one season, that they're going to be able to do it the next season, especially if they're going through these changes, because their legs might be different, their feet might be different sizes, their brains might not have caught up with it. They might be doing the same things in their head, and that might, that's going to be annoying for them. That's part of the mental side of it for young players too. What they're looking for is some support. They're looking for some guidance. They're looking to make sure that, you're on their side and you're on their team, whether they're getting it right or getting it wrong. They will get it right eventually. We just have to be patient as grown-ups watching these. And also players, you also have to be patient too, just knowing that there's nothing you can really do about your growth spurt. It's just going to either happen, it's not going to happen, you're not going to be able to pick it. You can't just go, do you know, next week I think I'll grow 6 inches, like it's not going to happen. You can't all of a sudden just think, do you know what, this week I'm going to get wider by 2 inches as well, I'm a defender now, or my skull's going to develop loads more, or my mental capacity is going to change. It doesn't happen like that. It just happens when it happens. And, again, players, just be really patient of that too. For coaches, just think about adapting your coaching. Think about making it so that you can be maybe a little bit more patient, maybe a little bit more flexible, maybe a little bit more observant with some players, so you know where they're coming from, and you know how to get the best out of those players when they are playing too. And also, for players and for parents as well. Look, a little bit of advice there as well is that with growth as well, you're gonna get some growth dips as well. Doesn't mean that you're a failure. Doesn't mean that you're not doing the right things. Doesn't mean that you're not on the right track. Just means that you got hit a bump in the road as well. We talked about grassroots football. It's a bumpy road between, the start of the season and the end of the season every single time. These are just going to be some of them that are also going to happen. So, but I mean, look, if you're a coach or you're a parent and you want to talk about these things, I would definitely say go down to your local FA. They will be able to put some courses on there. Go to the FA's website as well on the learning side of it. You can do the talent identification course as well. That actually talks about a lot of the different things we're mentioning today too. So you can head straight over there as well. Anything that you want to come in with, again, just do that. It's gofootballpod@gmail.com. So before we do go, just a couple of little shout outs as well. Not wearing one today as well, but Rush Sportswear as well. They're still brilliant. And I've seen the amount of teams that have been wearing their kits. It's brilliant. Their kits look amazing. The links are in the bio to go and check that out. Big thank you to everyone for last week that went over to the Wellingborough Under 13 Lions as well and clicked on their link to help them raise some funds. Really appreciate that too. And the last one would be Lacey's. Okay, so with Lacey's, just head on over there too. They've got some great products. They've got the bands for the feet as well, but they've got loads of other great products that are on offer at the moment. So just head over there. When you get to the checkout, when you get to that basket as well, just use the discount code of GoFootballPod, and that'll give you 10% off. And it'll give you 10% off for every time you go back. So if you need to get something and then you get something else and something else and something else, it's not a problem. You can keep on doing that. Keep on using the same code. So you'll still get in the 10% discount all the way through. If you can go and join us on any of the socials as well, go and join us on the socials. You can get us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on TikTok. We've got 2 channels on TikTok, YouTube as well. So if you're not watching this on the video version, if you're listening to this on Spotify, then you can always head over to YouTube as well. Unfortunately, you're going to have to look at me for the total amount of time of the podcast. So really sorry about that. But absolutely, you can find us absolutely anywhere. Please interact with us, whether that is sending us a DM, sending us an email as well, interacting with any of the social posts. Absolutely amazing if you could do that. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Go Football Podcast.